Thank you. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. This is my first interview for an author. I've been doing a lot of Zoom interviews since the pandemic struck, and I'm so happy to support my friend Jane. So happy that you all are here supporting her as well, and that you probably loved her first book as I did. And Jane, hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. And I thought we'd start quickly by just explaining why I'm here interviewing Jane. Number one, I'm a big fan. Number two, Jane and I became friends because the year my youngest daughter was going to preschool, Jane was assigned to me as a mother who was already at the preschool where our girls attended. And Jane was such a lovely, warm, kind person to me. And I remember going to parent orientation, and Carrie was just 3, and the Y would accept her because she was so exceptional. I'm kidding. She was the right age, and I walked in, and it was parents' night, and I sat next to Jane and her husband Warren, and I looked around, and there were all couples. Everybody was there with their spouse, and I had just lost my husband to cancer. And for some reason, it was just a really painful situation for me. And that's really how Jane and I bonded. Meanwhile, she thinks, oh my God, I'm stuck with this insane mother who is crying at parents' orientation. And Jane, you can take the story from there.
It was funny because I didn't really know much about Katie. I guess I was maybe the only person that didn't watch her. I'm sorry at the time.
That's okay.
And I follow every amazing thing she does. So I walked into the office and said, like, I'm the wrong person for this job. Why'd you pick me? Give her to someone else. And they were like, no, you're the exact right person. I said, okay. So I wasn't at all intimidated by like the star factor that some people are. But then I found out how smart she was. And that was kind of intimidating because she's just whip smart. But basically we had the best time. I was like a bored housewife with 3 kids. And I was like her, what's it called? A work husband? I was her nursery school husband, right?
Wife.
I have a nursery school wife. That's what I was. And I had to like, remind her of everything. And it was very fun. I would wrestle the phone from her when Warren Beatty would call her apartment. It was fun.
Okay. Anyway, but I think the reason why Jane and I wanted to share that with everyone who's joining this interview is that female friendships really are at the heart of Eliza Starts a Rumor. And I think you're such a good friend, Jane, that this was something that really appealed to you. So can you tell us a little bit about the power of female friendships and why this really became the foundation for this novel?
Of course. So I am blessed to have good friends for my whole life. And I think that you kind of could take friends for granted, but then something awful could happen in your life and they just are there to scoop you up and point you in the right direction. And even the way I spoke about, Katie and I meeting under those circumstances where she was in a bad place really is the same way that Allison and Olivia meet in my book. Not the same circumstance, but one basically crying and the other one saying, oh, let me help you, just because we're both women. And it's that shared humanity, that shared female experience that I think is so important and beautiful, and really no one should go it alone, because if you have a few good friends, they're there for you to pick you up.
I'm wondering if, I think Jane and I were talking earlier about everything you read and watch these days takes on a different form because of the pandemic. And I watch TV shows that were filmed long ago and I'm like, oh, they're sitting too close, or don't kiss her. I can't believe they're holding hands. And I get quite anxiety ridden when I watch them. And I'm wondering if having this book come out now, if it's made you think, Jane, about the characters and about the themes in maybe a new and different way.
It has, because I think there are people that I'll FaceTime with now that I never in a million years would have thought to FaceTime. I would just maybe call them or text them and not get that deep into conversation, but it's almost like I miss the face-to-face discussion, and I just want to be closer to people that I really love. And sometimes people that you don't really care that much about, they kind of like fall to the wayside. But yeah, I think it's a strange time that we're living in. And it really does show you, brings out what's most important. And in this book, I think people are really looking for that, what's most important in life.
Tell us a little bit more, because obviously some people got early copies like moi, but a lot of people haven't read your book. So Jane, can you talk about the characters and sort of the main characters, and really set up the book for us without giving too much away?
Of course. Well, Eliza starts a rumor. So like that, you know. And Eliza, the reason she does that is Eliza is agoraphobic. And which is also very topical, because
we're all agoraphobic.
All agoraphobic now. I mean, it's actually the fear of crowds and the fear of going outside. And I think that I could relate to Eliza so much right now. And it's just an odd thing to fear other people, right? It's very bizarre. You see someone and you want to say hello, but you take your step back and you think they're going to kill you. You know, it's just crazy. So Eliza starts this rumor. The rumor trickles down. She starts the rumor because she wants her mother's online site to be more exciting. And it just trickles down in this community. And then we meet a new mother named Olivia, who kind of thinks her husband's having an affair. And we meet a woman named Allison, who is a high-powered attorney in the city, and she recently moved to Hudson Valley with her newborn baby, takes some time off from the big job she had. And Amanda, who's Eliza's best friend from childhood, who is living in Los Angeles, but her husband is involved in a Me Too scandal, and she flies home. And these four women and one man named Jackie form a bond, and just basically what happens to them throughout a couple of months in this small suburban town
of Hudson Valley, which is very shishy these days. Why set it there, Jane? Was there a reason?
Well, usually I set everything in New York City because I love New York City, but I went to the Hudson Valley a couple of years ago for Christmas break. We rented this glass house that jutted out over the river, and the view and the town, everything, the leaves, the smells, the little towns, it was just so beautiful and so different than anywhere I've been, really. And I kind of fell in love with it. So Olivia's house in this book is that house, in my head at least. And that's why I picked Hudson Valley.
So, you know, I'm always fascinated when I talk to novelists in particular, because they have to create a story out of nothing. And I think it's such an amazing gift and talent. And I'm curious how ideas come to you. Do you just think about things? Do you say, I want to do a novel set in this place and I have a kind of an idea? I'm just really interested in the process of writing, because I know you write in bed.
Yeah, I said the Warren Beatty thing. Now you can tell everyone to write in bed.
Well, that's not bad. I think a lot of people love to write in bed. I know other people who do, but
Yes.
it just, I always picture you kind of cozy and writing in bed. And
Yes.
so tell us a little bit about the process and how you think of these ideas.
Well, my ideas, I would say I could always trace them back to like one tiny thought, or one thing I overhear. And that thing, I think this might be an idea for a book. And then I just let it like ruminate, and I think about it, and I make little notes on my phone, and I wake up thinking about it. I go to sleep thinking about it. When I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I think about it some more. And then all of a sudden you have like this whole story that just comes out of the tiniest idea.
So the tiny idea, what was the genesis of Eliza Starts a Rumor? What was that aha moment that you thought, oh, this has the beginning or the makings of a really great story?
I was at the last book talk for 9 Women, 1 Dress, and it was very late in the game. It was like the paperback had already been out for like 6 months. And I was kind of tired of doing the same talk over and over again. So I said to the group that I'm just going to tell them all the secrets of the book. And I said, like, Vegas, like whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, like that. I said, or like these mothers groups that I keep, running through, where people just say the craziest things about their husbands or about their kids, and they just assume no one's going to repeat it. And as soon as I said it, the whole room of women just erupted in, yes, I know that from my mother's group. And yes, someone said this about their husband. And they were just all so energized by the topic that I just knew right then and there that this was a great springboard for a novel.
Now, those groups didn't really exist when we had our kids, and they're kind of foreign to me now. Can you explain? Because I know you did a lot of research into them. I know like there's an Upper East Side Moms group. I just am not a part of that world because my daughters are 24 and 28 now, and I'm ancient. But what are they all about? Can you tell us?
They can. There's like, first of all, there's one everywhere. Every little town seems to have one. I mean, there's even some in India, and they're all over the place. And it's kind of like this hive mentality. So there's good and there's bad. So the good part is that there's this hive mentality. So you can ask a question like, my daughter has this weird rash, and they show a picture. And all this, and it could be 3 a.m, and your daughter could be crying, and some other insomniacs will just be right there typing away. I think it's impetigo. I think it looks like this. And you get like all these great answers. But also like sometimes I saw once where a woman's daughter got in a car accident in another city, and the mother reached out onto this women's group, and 2 women went to the hospital and sat with her daughter in a foreign city, strangers, just because she said she was so like under such duress. Like, does anyone live in New Mexico, wherever she was? And once I saw a woman say that she was leaving her husband with a newborn baby, or thought the husband left her, and she had nothing, no layette, nothing. And this whole group got together and sent her every single thing she would need for this baby. So sometimes it's amazing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's no good. Like someone says the wrong thing and people just start attacking them, and and even with Eliza Starts a Rumor, Eliza she's a wonderful woman, Eliza, but she posted a rumor that wasn't true, and it really turned people's lives upside down. So there's good and there's bad, but I think there's mostly good.
And are they set up geographically? Are they set up, I mean, how are I should know this, but how are they kind of divided up?
Well, New York City has like maybe 10. They have an Upper East Side, Downtown Moms, Upper West Side Mamas. Even Upper East Side has like 3 different ones. There's Brooklyn Mamas, and there's Tribeca Mamas, and there's just a ton of them. But I think
that in other places,
there's usually one.
Usually one. And in terms of the negative side, obviously you told some great stories, but I would imagine they could get kind of mean and cliquey, and it could be a place for
bullying.
Yeah, I was going to say bullying.
Yeah, and when you say something and all of a sudden there are 10 other women jumping down your throat, you got to really watch what you write.
Do people get ejected from,
yes.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. People get ejected. And I heard a story once of a woman that said something really personal about her husband. So you're supposed to sign something that you don't repeat anything ever. So this woman said something negative about her husband. I think it was like a sexual thing, actually. And then he went to work, and another husband at work, his wife, told him the story following this, and the husband came into his office and said, "Oh, I heard whatever, this bad thing about him." And I think they got divorced.
Well, it could be a big, gossip pool. And I mean, the whole idea of not telling people anyway, but you basically researched these groups.
Yeah.
Right. And how did that research work? How did you do it?
I just spent a lot of time scrolling, and I tried very hard not to. I didn't actually at all take anyone's personal stories from the groups. I was very careful not to do that, because you have to sign something saying that you're not gonna, replicate anything. So I didn't do that. And I remember like one story that I told in the book, that like 2 weeks after it was sent to the publisher, it came up in one of the mothers groups, and I felt so bad, but it was after the fact. So what was the question?
How you did the research. So basically you
Yeah, so I
scrolled
just
and
went on as many as I could and just saw. I mean, after a
did you
while,
talk to
they're the
people?
same. They're
Did
the
you
same.
talk,
Like,
sorry, did you talk to people
yeah,
who are part of the groups?
yeah, I did. And I spoke to, like, I have nieces that are at that early mothering age, but also there's women's groups that talk about menopause. And there's like a huge women's group for women called, like, What Would Virginia Woolf Do, for women over 40, I think it is.
Right.
A lot of groups and a lot of support. And that's the good thing, because especially in that group, I saw people that were really, someone's husband passed away, or like different female experiences that other people have. And it's so helpful to hear how they dealt with things.
We want to remind people that if they have questions that you can ask these. I hope you know how to do it. How do you do it? You just in the chat function.
On the bottom lower third.
On the bottom lower third, if you guys have any questions for Jane, please feel free to write them in, because I know she'd love to answer any questions you might have. I want to go back to Eliza being agoraphobic and how that seed came to you, sort of the idea of making her agoraphobic, which is a big problem, but how did that come about? And you must have researched that quite a bit as well.
I think I was thinking a little bit about, like, Rear Window and Jimmy Stewart staying home and looking out his window. And I think, like, I just wanted a reason for her to really be tethered to the house. And for, she's an empty nester.
And she's lonely.
I wanted her to, I wanted the loss, the possible loss of this bulletin board to really be weigh on her, because she didn't have much else. She wasn't leaving the house. So if that fell apart, she'd be very detached from the world. So that's how I went to that.
And that's sort of the stakes, right?
Yeah, that's the stakes for her. I mean, the book is very much about all of the women, even though Eliza's the main character. But I researched agoraphobia in the normal ways that one would, by reading about it. And then, as I always do, I try and find a human being, 1, 2, 5, whatever, to tell me their personal experience with it, because that's how you really get the emotional part of it and what it feels like to deal with this kind of mental illness and the different things that may spark her agoraphobia, which is it's a big mystery in the book, because you don't know till the end really why she's agoraphobic.
And one of the nice things, and thank you guys, keep the questions coming, because I'll get to them in a second. And I just love to have everybody interact. That's what's wonderful, I think, about Zooms, and it's just nice to have that human connection. So Jane, I was going to ask you about the women, because you do feature women of all ages and various stages of motherhood, or in various stages of life. So it's not just sort of new moms, it's not just mothers who have kids in preschool. It really does kind of reflect the span of women's lives. Why was that important to you?
It's interesting. I even have Eliza's mother in it, actually, and so that woman's much older. I'm a big fan of just intergenerational stories, and I'm a big fan of intergenerational friendships. I have friends that are 20 years older than I am. I have friends that are 20 years younger than I am, and I gained so much from the different perspectives. From talking even to your daughters and their friends, like, it's just different perspectives. But as a woman, it's also so similar. Like, the female experience, I mean, hopefully things are going to change now with the Me Too movement. And I think that the things that we experienced are very similar to things that our mothers experienced, and very similar to things that our daughters experienced, just because we're women. And I think there's a lot to learn from having friends of different generations
I agree.
And that shared humanity.
And I know you feel that way. You felt that way about your mom. And, I think people who have really healthy, loving, wonderful relationships with their moms appreciate, I think, kind of the wisdom of an older generation, as you said. And I like reverse mentoring. I like hanging around with young people, because they help me understand what's changing in the world,
Right.
and really have helped me, stay relevant to a certain extent. Jane, I wanted to ask you, and then I'm going to get to some of our nice reader questions. And that is, you're a screenwriter also. And how do your skills as a screenwriter enter into your writing in terms of your fiction writing? And I imagine it's extremely helpful when it comes to dialogue.
Yes, yes. I think that it enters in a funny way that I think I'm a very, very visual writer. Like my kids, when they just read Eliza, one of them said, I felt like I was binging a Netflix show. And that was a compliment to me because it meant that they just kept running through it and they could visualize everything. I think when you write a screenplay and you just, like you said, concentrate on the dialogue, and the setting is so simple. It's like Jane Rosen, the author, sits in front of a bookshelf. That's it. They don't want you to say, like, what are you wearing? Those are other people's jobs. Like, and you just really have to concentrate on the basics and the dialogue. And I think that transfers very well to writing a novel, where I just like people to do a lot of the visualization themselves. I don't give you every detail. I'm not like heavy into, the whole location. I just try and give you little points, and you could think about what the person looks like yourself a little bit. And I don't know. I think it works well. It also works really well with revisions, because in screenwriting, they make you rewrite something 100 million, billion, zillion times. So in this experience, when they're asking me to do something or change something, I'm so open to listening to everything my editor says. And I've had great editors for both books. So.
And were you nervous? I was thinking about writing a second novel. Your first was so successful. As we heard John say, it's been translated into 10 languages so far. I know that this book has gotten many 5-star reviews on Goodreads, so mazel mazel. But having said that, were you nervous about writing this second book? Because I know you always read about people who are successful authors and they're almost paralyzed. Well, you think of Harper Lee, for example, right? Who could never really write a follow-up to To Kill a Mockingbird. Go Set a Watchman was, a whole different story. And I'm curious, were you nervous? Did you feel anxiety writing a second book after your first was so successful?
I mean, lucky for me, it wasn't To Kill a Mockingbird, because I don't think I ever could have followed that up with anything. I've read it so many times. But yes, I was very nervous, because also you have to remember, like, I didn't sell my first book until it was done. So in my head, my friends and my family were reading the book. So it's a totally different feeling. No one, now you write in the second book, it's going to be reviewed. People are going to like say nasty things about it online. And
I know. How do you handle that?
Like someone's over your shoulder saying like, don't write that, write that. It's different. It's just different. It's stressful.
Yeah. But how would you compare this to the first book? Do you like it more? Is it just like saying which child do you like better?
No, I like them both. I mean, it's very different. The first book was very hard to write, because it took place, like, there was so many different narrators, and I had to always remember where that dress was. I had like a calendar with where the dress was every single day of the book, because I would forget, and it was complicated. This book more just fell out of me in a couple of months, and it was much easier to write.
Well, someone asked, Sherry Friedberg. Hi, Sherry. Is it okay if I say who's asking the question? You guys don't mind, right? Because Jane, these might be some of your friends or family members. How long did it take for you from the aha moment to the completion of the book? You said just a few months. That's really quite annoying.
It was 6 months.
6 months?
But not the editing process, but just the first draft. But also my mom had just passed away. So I like threw myself into it kind of as an escape, which I often do when I write. It's much easier to deal with, 4 strangers than what's going on in my own head.
Right.
So it was kind of quick.
6 months. And how does that compare to 9 Women, One Dress?
That was probably a year and a half.
Year and a half.
Before
this isn't a question, but I bet there's some sort of wannabe writers out there who would like to write either for themselves or maybe with the idea of getting it published. Or do you have any advice for people who feel like they may have a book in them, but they just don't even know where to begin?
Yeah, I would say just get up early in the morning, like especially if you have another job, get up early in the morning when your brain is fresh and just write and write and write, and don't worry about, like, write like no one else is reading it, and all of a sudden you'll find that you're halfway through the book and you'll be over this hump, and then just keep going and worry about all the little details during the rewrite. If you get stuck in something, just make some X's and keep going. Just don't fall into that whole writer's block trap. Just keep moving forward.
Those well-known TKs
Yeah,
that we write when we have to revisit a topic. Someone, Eve McSweeney. Hi, Eve. Jane, can you talk about the public private? Huh?
Eve is my agent. My
Oh,
wonderful
hi, Eve.
door.
Oh, so Eve wants you to talk a little bit more about the public-private dimension of these women's forums and what you think the advantages, disadvantages are.
I think the disadvantage is that you do know people in real life, and you can't just pretend that you're saying something that no one else is going to repeat. I mean, and also I think it's kind of weird when people talk about their kids in a real negative way, and then you're like, that's someone's kid, like it's a child. You should probably keep that private. So there's a little privacy issue about it, but it's also nice for people that maybe don't have a lot of people to talk to, or a new mom who has no idea, like, about the loneliness, or maybe feeling postpartum depression. Or there's so many things that you could write things anonymously that maybe you don't feel comfortable asking with your name,
Right. But I think probably, yes, it's a fine line between being open and maintaining some boundaries. And do you have, like, is there anybody who intervenes in some of these rooms where they'll say, oh, this isn't appropriate, or let's take this offline, or let's say someone says they're so depressed and they're thinking of taking their own life. I mean, I'm just thinking of these examples. Right. I would imagine that these forums are not necessarily the right place for many conversations. So who's sort of overseeing them to make sure that something doesn't spiral out of control?
I've seen people say things not that, but similar, and psychiatrists and psychologists that are on in the group will say, I'm going to DM you. And that I think is amazing. But there are moderators for each of these groups. So sometimes they'll say when things are really out of hand, which they get really out of hand. And it's like, you could get popcorn, Katie. You could literally like sit and read the comments and eat your popcorn like a movie. Sometimes the moderator will say, I'm closing comments on this. This discussion is talk to death, and that's it.
So there is somebody who oversees it.
There's usually like 1 to 3 moderators. It's a big job, and it's not a big job. So
yeah, I was going to say that's a lot of time. Vanessa wants to know, gossiping is often a negative attribute assigned to women. Are the men in the book equally responsible for the gossip?
You know what? The gossip in this book, and I'm not saying, I like to gossip sometimes as much as the next person, but the gossip in this book is really just comes from Eliza, and it sounds like she's a good person. It just comes from her situation. So it's not like the whole book is filled with gossip. So I don't know. I don't know the answer really. I mean, gossiping is not a great thing. And she does it just to get herself out of this situation. And then it just, as gossip does, it just backfires.
Or do the men in the book kind of take a back seat to the female characters?
Well, Jackie is a man in the book, and he is a big character. He's a love interest, and he's right in there with the women, basically because he has a question that he needed answered as a single father of a teenage girl. But yes, the men mostly take a back seat to the women, absolutely. And some of the men are really kind and great, and some of them are kind of awful.
Susan Damana, who is your sorority sister. Did I say Susan's name correctly?
No. Oh, maybe you did. Maybe that's her married name.
Anyway, she said,
yeah.
She said she's proud of you were sorority sisters, but she said she had no idea you were a screenwriter. Have you sold any, have you sold any of them, and have any of them made it to the big screen?
Yes, I've sold to Miramax, and they did not make it to the big screen. One of the reasons why I decided to write a novel.
And the ones that you sold, were those were fiction? I know one was about a dog walker, right?
Yes. Very good, Katie. It was about
I remember that. Yeah.
And another one's about Fire Island. And that one I'm kind of holding on to. I feel one day it'll get made because it's my favorite story. I'm going to write a book about it too, eventually.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think writing a book about something makes it more likely that the screenplay will actually turn into something?
In this world, it really has been, I mean, it's been a constant. So many books are becoming movies and television shows, and there's just so many different stations now, and, you know, different places to put things. So a lot of the things that you're watching on Netflix were books, you know, and movies were same.
Right. I think people like some original material to draw from when they're writing. You know, oh, by the way, Normal People was so good. If anybody wants to watch
Right.
Normal People on Hulu, it was so
Great.
well done and so beautifully shot. We loved it. Now we're watching the Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, I watched it for 10 minutes. I had to turn it off.
Yeah, it's
take
really
it.
horrifying. It says, isn't Lisa's ass, isn't Lisa Rogel, Lisa, hi, isn't Eliza the moderator?
Yes, Eliza is the moderator.
Which woman in the book do you relate to most, Jane?
Now I relate to Eliza since I've been in the house for how many months. I relate to all of them a little bit. I think that these women, I don't really relate to Amanda, but I relate to Olivia because she moved from Manhattan, you know, when she had, like, I thought of doing that too. I guess Eliza the most. Eliza has like a funny sense of humor that's a little self-deprecating. So, like me.
You have a great sense of humor. Do you usually kind of model one of the characters after you in general?
No, not really.
No.
No.
Somebody wanted to know what's the hardest part of writing a book. That was Karen Bluestein or Bluestein. Hi, Karen.
Old roommate. Hi, Karen. What's the hardest part of writing a book? Oh, gosh, I don't know. I love writing. I think the afterwards, worrying about how it's going to do and all of that marketing and stuff, that would be the hardest part for me personally. I really am the happiest when I'm writing and I'm really in the thick of it.
So I want to know if you're already working on your next book. A lot of people are saying they loved the first one. They're looking forward to reading this one. And do you already have, other than Fire Island, which you at some point want to turn into a book, are you already working on your next book? Because people don't realize how, I mean, I didn't, that it's a long process. You finish the book and then they have to do all this stuff and you have to do the cover art and yada, yada, yada. And then it takes many months. So you must be, are you well into your next book?
I finished the first draft, but I'm going to have a lot of editing to do with it. Yes.
So can you tell us about it?
It's going to come out not next summer. Next summer, the paperback for Eliza will come out the summer after. The name is kind of up in the air, but it has a lot to do with shoes. I'll tell you that. I don't want to give too much away, but there are a lot of shoes in this book, which is much better because I've been researching shoes. So when I was researching for Eliza, all these crazy things would come up on my computer. You know, like one woman, Olivia, thinks her husband's cheating. So that would come up constantly. You know, the whole internet thought my husband was cheating on me and I had agoraphobia. Now they just send me pictures of shoes. So it's either better or worse. I don't know.
So let's see if there are any more questions, because who do you see playing Eliza in the movie version? So proud of you. This is from Dana.
Aw. Okay, so I actually just wrote a blog post on this, and it's my favorite question that there is. I love casting my books, maybe because I was a screenwriter. So Eliza, I casted as Drew Barrymore. Olivia, who was Olivia? I can't remember. I'll think. Allison was Maggie Q.
Used to date my nephew.
Really? She's beautiful.
She is beautiful. I want her to eat a sandwich, though.
What?
She's
What's
so
that?
skinny.
Oh. Well, yes, she does that whole other thing where she drinks that green
Oh
juice.
yeah, she has very regular bowel movements.
Yes, very regular. Very happy for her. Sterling Brown, you know,
Oh
from
yeah.
This Is Us, he would be Jackie. And I can't remember. Oh, January Jones, because is that the woman who was from Mad Men?
Yes.
I miss her. I miss Betty Draper, and I want to see her in something.
Oh, that's so
Could be
nice.
Amanda. Oh, and Olivia, I wanted the woman from Shameless.
Oh, Emmy Rossum.
Yes. I saw her once at Barney's. She was beautiful, like Audrey Hepburn. She was so.
She went to Spence, you know.
She did?
Yeah.
Oh, she's a Spence girl. I didn't
Who
know.
knew?
Who knew?
Who knew? And we'll take two more questions. Oh wait, hold on. Love the relationship between you and Katie. Thank you. Katie, miss you on NBC in the morning. And Jane, loved the last book. Can't wait to read this one. That's from Jody Schwartz. Thank you, Jody. Sign up for my newsletter, Jody. It's like getting me in your inbox every morning. It's called Wake Up Call, and just go to katiecouric.com to get it. So thank you for that. Oh, it's not Judy, it's Jody.
I just want to say
I'm sorry, Jody. My eyes are so bad. I need stronger glasses. What, Jane?
I want to say something about Wake Up Call.
Oh, thanks.
Wake Up Call. I sign up for Wake Up Call, the New York Times, and the Skim. And don't tell the New York Times and the Skim, but Wake Up Call is far superior, and it's where I get my news. And it's like waking up to Katie every morning, telling you what's going on in the world. Highly recommend it.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you. That's so sweet. Thank you, John, for putting how to subscribe. This is a good question, because I know you read a ton, and I think everybody is always looking for good books other than yours to read, Jane. So tell us what you've been reading lately and what you might recommend.
Well, I've been reading a ton since COVID. I've had a harder time concentrating on television than I have on books somehow. Maybe because it's like the activeness of reading. But I loved this book by Bess Kalb, Nobody Will Tell You This But Me. Adored it. You should read it.
Nobody Will Tell You This But Me?
Nobody Will Tell You This But Me.
That's a long title.
Oh, then another book I read has an even longer title, The Care and Feeding of Ravenously Hungry Girls. That was great. Summer Longing, very light and good. My editor edited also this book called Darling Rose Gold, which I really liked. I read The Mother. I don't know. What else did I read? A lot. I've been reading a lot, but that's a good list.
So you should publish your reading list on Instagram. After you encourage everyone to read this book.
Right.
Because I think people always want to hear what people are listening to or watching, and
I put pictures of them all the time when I'm reading.
Yeah.
The stories.
So can I ask everyone about the title for my book?
Yes.
Okay, I need a title for my book. Right now, the working title is Unexpected, because my career was pretty unexpected. I was never kind of considered to be like anchor material, because I wasn't, glamorous enough, and also unexpected because of my husband's death. But I don't know if I like that title. And if you guys have any other ideas, what you think would be a good title for my memoir, I'm totally open. Tara said, who knew? Who knew?
That's funny.
We have a lot of things we've been playing with, like Perky this, and all sorts of other things. So if you guys, Sharon likes Unexpected. Also Irrepressible, because that's what my dad used to call me. So, but we don't know if that's, some people think it sounds conceited. So I like Moxie, because my dad used to say I had Moxie too. And I like that as well. Irrepressible doesn't say as much. Okay, Sharon, she's got very strong opinions. Amy, life happens. That's kind of cool. Life happens. Moxie. Well, anyway, if you guys have any other ideas, please.
Resilience.
Well, I know, but resilience, it's like resilience. It's
Right.
just, I kind of like the idea of being resilient. My husband used to say I was born on a sunny day, but I just feel like that's a little bit like, the good.
Oh, I like that. On a sunny day.
Huh?
Born on a sunny day is really nice.
You think? I don't know.
Yes. I like it.
I don't know. I'm in a bad mood and I hate a lot of people, so I'm not sure if it's really fitting.
You're gonna have to fix that.
I'm kidding. But I just feel like it's a little too. Anyway, Jane, this is about you, not me.
Really?
But Moxie. All right. I just thought I just have a nice kind of like focus group here, Jane. So I thought I'd take advantage of it.
You should go into one of those mothers groups and ask them. You could have like 40,000.
Mine would have to be the postmenopause group.
Yes, go on there and ask for the title.
Mine would have to be like the sexy 60 people.
Mm-hmm. Go for it.
Anyway, so Jane, I'm really excited about your book. Everybody, please tell your friends about Jane's book. She's a fantastic writer. She's a wonderful person, and she deserves all the success that she's enjoyed, and because she really is a great friend. And I'm so glad that you guys could join us. And I know, Jane, you have a lot of fans out there, not just for your writing, but for you as a person. And I think we're all cheering you on. Somebody asked, how can women be more supportive of each other? And I thought that was a good question that I didn't get to. And, I think we have to do, I think men support each other a little more than women. And I think we all have to really cheer each other on. I think, for a long time, there weren't enough roles for women. So people were very territorial, and they didn't want to necessarily help someone because there were such limited spots. They didn't want another woman to come along and take their spot. But now, as jobs have expanded and there are more opportunities for women, I think that all women will, women helping each other, I think will become more of the rule rather than the exception. At least I hope so.
Yeah, and to mentor. I mean, if you're asking what you could do, you can mentor people. And that's a really great way to help other women. Something happened.
I know. I don't see you anymore, Jane.
I see you now. Do you see me?
No, I see Pat 93885. Oh, oh God, I see myself. And that's awfully close. But I got a ring light so I don't look so bad. Meanwhile, I look like Tan Mom or Magda from There's Something About Mary. So I obviously need to wear more sunscreen. But everyone's saying, let me just, a couple comments. When women support women, great things happen. We pull each other up. Jane, love the book. So excited to share it with the Badass Women's Book Club.
Oh, great.
Can't wait to read the book. This was so fabulous. You're welcome. Someone thanked me, that Lois. And Jane, your writing is amazing. And Nancy always wanted my morning job. Yeah, you have to get up super early.
Oh my gosh, I could attest to you. Nobody wants that job.
No, it was a fun job. I did it for 15 years. I loved it. And I felt so lucky that I had got to occupy that chair for 15 years. Anyway, well, this has been so fun, Jane. Is there anything else you want to say before we sign out?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you so much for talking to me tonight. And thank you everybody who came to listen to us.
Thanks everybody. John, do you want to wrap things up?
Sure. I just wanted to thank the two of you and congratulate Jane again on the release of your book. I hope you all consider buying it from McNally Jackson and read it.
Yes, go independent booksellers.
And thank you both.
Support you.
And thank you everybody for watching.
How do people do that, John, if they want to order the book from you?
Just go to McNallyJackson.com. You'll see the cover right on the right with our events carousel, and you'll be able to buy it right there. But thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Good.
Have a good night, everybody.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Bye.
Lots of love, Jane.
I hope. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye, John. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you.
Bye.